Next we come to measurements and field practices. How we can do the measurement. For that, different distance measurement devices are used. Okay, so one by one we will discuss. Okay, and then from the next lectures we will be coming on distance measurement devices. We will be studying all these instruments in detail. In the next lecture only, the session 2 that I will be taking will be on distance measurement devices only. Okay, so first thing is tape. As you all know, it can be means, as I told you, 30 meter, 50 meter, 100 meter tape graduations. Even in FIT imperial units also these are available. Okay, so based on your requirements you can measure the distance between 2 points. Okay, it can't be used for very large distances, but it has got good accuracy. Okay, so you can say 1 in 300 means for 300, or 1 in 3000 basically you say. So for 3000 meter distance you will get an error of 1 meter. Okay, so this is how, if you do the calculations properly using tape, you can get good readings with that, and you can easily measure the horizontal distances. It can be used for measurement of horizontal as well as slope distance. Okay, and once these are measured and the angle is known to you, if you have calculated using other device, then by interpolation or using trigonometrical analysis you can calculate the vertical distance also between two. Okay, thereafter comes electronic distance measurement devices. Okay, so electronic distance measurement devices are what? They electronically display the distance between 2 points. Okay, see, at bottom you can see leveling activity. Okay, as I told you, means one person is standing with the leveling rod. If you can see there, one person is sighting and the other person is standing with the leveling rod. Even these electronic distance measurement devices that I am talking about are mounted on the tripod only in the same way. Okay, and once they are mounted, what basically happens is we can locate the other point. Okay, and the distance between those 2 points can be easily calculated using this device. Okay, the concept behind it I will tell you. It uses the concept of measuring the phase difference between the electromagnetic waves. Okay, it works on electromagnetic waves, and once these waves travel, okay, once you have started the instrument and you have located the point, the distance between those 2 points is measured by the phase difference of the length of the particles. From phase difference it can calculate of the electromagnetic waves that are traveling. It can easily measure the length, means the distance between those 2 points, and it electronically displays it also. Okay, theodolites and these instruments come with electronic distance measurement only. Okay, so in theodolites you can see that based on the horizontal and vertical angles that we have cited between different points, it does the calculations also in itself. Okay, because all these things are programmable. What we are doing, if we can think of it, if anything can be done mathematically, and if it is a case of discrete data, it can be programmable and it can be calculated. Okay, so once means all the, it is not in means auto level or theodolites that I will be talking next, but in total stations what happens is, when we measure horizontal angle even between those 2 points, it can tell us the distance between those 2 points using all those trigonometric calculations. If the certain distance is known to us, not between those 2 points that are located, but from the line of sight to any particular point, the distance is known to us and the angles are known to us. So using trigonometric analysis, it can even calculate the distances between those 2 points that are located further apart from us, or from our point to that point. The distance can be easily calculated using these electronic distance measuring devices. Okay, so these are also very helpful. Okay, because at times it is not possible for us to locate the distance using chains or tape. As I told you, means few points may be inaccessible. If those points are inaccessible, then there is no way that you can find the distance using tape, and even the error that is allocated with these devices is much lesser as compared to chains and tape. Okay, there were few other techniques also, traditional techniques that were used for distance measurement, that we will discuss even in the upcoming lectures also, when we will be talking about distance measuring techniques. So it was a case of odometer wheel. A wheel was used that was traversed throughout. Okay, and if the circumference of that wheel was known to us, and we knew the total distance, means we knew how many revolutions that circle took. Okay, once we knew how many revolutions that circle took and its circumference was known to us, we were able to calculate the distance that was being moved by that wheel. Okay, so this is how also we need to calculate the distances, or using pacing. means just by walking we can get the rough estimate of the distance between those 2 points. If we know the length of our each pace, we can just move with uniform paces and we can just get track of the distance. A rough calculation just for starting the surveying we can get using pacing also. Okay, so these were the techniques that were used. Third one that is shown at the bottom of the slide is leveling. What is leveling? As I told you, when we need to determine the relative elevation between 2 points. Leveling is basically used to calculate the vertical distance. It is always used with reference to the vertical distance calculation. Okay, so leveling, one lecture we will allocate event completely to leveling, means where we will study there are two methods, basically height of instrument method and rise and fall method. These are the cases of differential leveling, means when we need to calculate relative difference between 2 points. So how we can calculate and how we can check our calculations that we have done. Okay, as this technique I told you just now, it means moves on the same technique, but it can be used for very large distance. How? Suppose we are mounting our apparatus at any particular site on the tripod at any particular point. So from that point, using the technique that I told you, that we can read the reading on the leveling rod, and then if we know our height of elevation, the line of elevation, its elevation is known to us, the line of sight elevation is known to us. From that we can decrease that elevation leveling rod reading, and once we decrease it we can find the location of that particular point, the height of that particular point with reference to ground level. And now if we need to carry our process further, so what we can do, from this point also we can locate any point. If it is further away and accessible or visible, we can locate that point and find its elevation directly. If not, then we have found the elevation of next point. Suppose the second point whose elevation we have found with reference to ground level is point B at a distance of 50 meters from point A. Okay, now what we do, we will now mount our instrument at point B because its elevation is also known to us, and now from point B we will try to sight point C. Okay, using same concept, point B elevation would be known to you. Now you can find the height of the instrument from which you are measuring. Okay, on that ground level elevation you can add height of instrument. Now it will be your line of sight, and from that third point, the point C, whatever reading you get there you can decrease it to come back again to the ground level at point C. You will get the elevation of that. Now from point C you can sight point D, because from point A it won't be possible for us to sight point D that is located at a distance of 200 meters here. Okay, so we do A, B, C, D like this. Okay, and even we can check our calculation. For checking our calculation, what we generally do is we try to convert it into a closed traverse. Okay, we try to convert it into a closed loop, and when we come back and find the coordinates of the point from where we started, if it comes same, it means that we have done correct, or if it is very close to that point, it means we have done correct surveying. Okay, if not, and if there is certain error of closure, then what we do, we try to find that magnitude and distribute it equally between all those points, or sometimes in the ratio of distances. Suppose first point was at a distance of 50 meter, second was at a distance of 60 meter, so in that ratio only we will distribute the error. Okay, so there are certain techniques that distributes the error. There is one Bowditch rule also that I will tell you when we will be discussing that. So this is basically the technique of leveling, and it is very much used. Okay, because we can find the elevation of points that are located very much further apart. Then after this leveling, that comes is direction and angle measurement devices that I told you about, theodolites and total station. Okay, theodolites are basically, the only difference is that theodolites are basically used for measurement of horizontal and vertical angles. Okay, basically the measurements that are done with the help of theodolite are in the form of angles only, whereas total station can be used to calculate angles as well as distances, everything. Okay, so total station has got almost no shortcomings. It can be used for almost all the means distance and vertical angle measurement techniques. Okay, and even it does the calculations, trigonometric calculations also, and displays the results electronically. You just need to learn how to operate it, and that you will get to know once you go on the site, try to operate it. Okay, because from instrument to instrument few things change. Okay, how you need to operate it, but basic means techniques, the basic parts of the instrument, how we can make it level, how the centering can be done. By leveling, what I mean that its line of sight should be perfectly with parallel to the ground surface. Okay, with respect to earth surface, it should be completely parallel. Okay, then only our distance measured will be exactly correct. If our line of sight is suppose not as is inclined with respect to horizontal, then the readings which will be reading will not be the exact reading. Okay, because if your line of sight is inclined below, then the reading will be reading will be much smaller than the actual reading. Okay, so you won't be getting the actual dimension. Okay, so for that you need to level your instrument. What is centering? Centering to locate the centermost point of that particular location where you are there. Okay, centering, leveling, these techniques we will be studying once we move forward. Okay, so basically theodolites and total stations are the instruments that can be used for direction and angle measurement also. Okay, directions can be measured as well as the angles using these. Now comes types of surveying. Okay, there are basically 6 types of surveying that I broadly classify. We have discussed most of the things. I will just give you overview so that you should know where it is being used. First is land boundary and cadastral survey, as we were discussing it about up till now, to demarcate the land boundaries or the boundaries of the property or the locations. There may be anything, any park, construction activity, buildings, bridges, or anything. Okay, we need to demarcate the boundaries of the park. For that, the land survey, or you can say boundary survey, that is also known as cadastral survey, that is being conducted. Okay, the activities remain same, just based on the purpose, for which purpose this surveying activity is conducted. On that basis, the surveying is classified like this. Okay, so first one that we were talking was land boundary and cadastral survey. Now second one that we come to is construction and route survey. What is this construction and route surveying? These are the surveying works for planning, design, implementation and monitoring of construction projects. Okay, so as we know, these are for the construction activities. The construction activity that we need to do, for its design and implementation, we need to get track of all the points. Okay, the horizontal points or the vertical points that we need to get track of, so that we can start our construction activity and we can locate those points with reference to certain baseline. Okay, with reference to certain point that we consider as the benchmark. Okay, with reference to that point we can locate each and every point. Okay, and once we have located those points, we can start our construction activity. Okay, there may be question why we need to locate. Okay, suppose consider a simple example of a particular building, of a house that you are living in. Okay, you know its dimensions. Suppose okay, suppose there is, you can say, a room whose dimensions is 3 feet. Okay, so once you have located one corner, to locate a point at a distance of 3 feet, okay, what you need to do, you have got the complete area of yours, but you need to locate that point at an exact distance of 3 feet from this point. Okay, so how you can locate that point? That is using these techniques that we are talking about. This is known as horizontal control. With reference to one point on the horizontal ground, you are locating other points based on the requirement. Okay, if you need any point at a distance of say 60 degree from this point, so 3 feet you will locate and 60 degree angle you will take. So at 60 degree you will again locate that point. Okay, so based on from particular point, whatever is the requirement, you can locate all other points on the ground. Okay, so for that, 2 things are very important: measuring the angles as well as measuring the distance, and various techniques for that. This is a case of simple project, but for large projects we need different things. Okay, even the survey activities are constructed for whole country. Okay, to locate the RL of all the points so that they can be plotted. Okay, so it is required for that construction and route survey. Route is for roads, you can say. Okay, the roads that are being constructed, bridges that are being constructed, or any other infrastructure works that are there. For those also survey work has to be done. Okay, as I told you, for road, suppose curve is to be given, then the road won't be horizontal. For that, the radius of the curve, if it is known to us, based on that we need to locate the points by which our curve will be rotating. We will discuss towards the back end horizontal and vertical curves also. It is one of the most important part of surveying, even that. Okay, what are the horizontal curves, how much the radius we need to give, and how we can locate those points using offsets. how we can construct that curve which we know on the field. Okay, it is also means one of the most important challenge, okay, that we need to means do. So for that even surveying is required. Okay, so that was the second one. Third one comes quantity surveying. What is quantity surveying? Quantity surveying, as I told you, means suppose there is any ground, if it is suppose level, but what we require is we require ground surface at a decreasing elevation. Okay, we require ground surface at a decreasing elevation, suppose for any activity. So what we need to do, if the grade line slope is known to us, say it is minus 1.5%, okay, it should be decreasing by 1.5% as we go forward. It means for every 100 meter horizontal distance we should be going down by 1.5 meter vertical. Okay, how we can do this is, now we have located the point elevation. Now we need to know if this point is 100 meter, if this point is at a particular elevation, then at a distance of 100 meter the other point should be at minus 1.5 meter. Okay, means if this point is at 0, then it should be at minus 1.5. Means if this is at 100, then this should be 98.5. So to decrease that, the cutting has to be done, the cutting of the soil has to be done. Okay, why? So for that we need to do excavation. So how much excavation is required? Or if you say the ground surface is getting lower, okay, at that, suppose we are in a particular undulated terrain where the ground surface is continuously decreasing. Okay, so we need to make it level. For making it level, what we need to do is we need to do the filling. So for filling, how much soil will be required? For this even surveying has to be done, and this can be only done if we know the horizontal distances, vertical distances, angles, everything. Once we know this, we can calculate how much soil is required based on different rules. Okay, these calculations, how they are done, how much cutting or how much filling is to be done, how much earthwork is required, this all calculation for huge projects has to be done initially, because this material has to be loaded through trucks and brought to the site, okay, or has to be disposed of. So for that also you can't just start this, you have to do that surveying and calculate how much excavation of fill is required, what will be the compaction that will be required, how much material is extra. Okay, so for this, when the surveying is done, these values are calculated using trapezoidal rule, Simpson's rule, this we have studied. So these all things will have to be calculated and it comes under quantity survey. Okay, this also we will be studying in 5th to 6th lecture from now on, that how this quantity surveying is done. Okay, next is plane surveying. Okay, fourth one is plane and fifth one is geodetic. I will just explain you the difference between those two. Plane surveying is where we consider the ground surface as level, means horizontal you can consider. But in actual, if you know, as all of you would be knowing because you would have studied in geography, that Earth's curvature is not horizontal. Earth's surface is, means Earth in itself is oval. Okay, it's a bit of ellipsoid you can say. So we need to consider the effect of Earth's curvature also. From one point, if we are locating other point that is located far apart, then the ground surface won't be horizontal throughout, it will be falling, okay, or it may be rising. So for that we need to consider the effect of the curvature of Earth also when we are doing this activity for large scale. Okay, but plane surveying is when we do the surveying activity for small areas. Small areas generally it is exactly not defined, but what we say for plane surveying, for that even the limits have been defined, that if the length is less than 18 kilometer or if the area that is being surveyed is less than 200 square kilometer, then for that all the projects that we will be doing will come under plane surveying. Okay, we will just do plane surveying and no need to consider for the effect of the curvature of Earth. Okay, but once the means the area that we are surveying increases, it is beyond 200 square kilometer, or the lengths or the distances between points that we are considering or the surveying that is being done is greater than 18 kilometer, then we need to consider the effect of Earth's curvature also. Even that has been defined in surveying. Okay, Earth's curvature correction has been defined based on the radius of the Earth. We have defined, means it is basically d square by 2r, where d is the distance between those 2 points and r is the radius of the Earth's surface in kilometer. Okay, so when you will study this, you will get to know that even for geodetic surveying, the curvature, Earth's curvature effect has also been introduced and defined. Okay, so that is geodetic surveying, where the effect of Earth's curvature is considered, and plane surveying is where we don't consider the effect of Earth's curvature. And the last one that comes is topographic surveying. What is topographic surveying? It deals with determining location and elevations. Okay, topographic surveying we just discussed before also, where we were talking about contour maps. Topography basically displays the topography of that particular area. Okay, so it shows the land features, ground features, what are present there. Okay, as I told you, hillocks may be there, cliffs may be there. It means whether the ground surface is level, whether it is elevated, whether excavations are there, whether hilly terrain is there. Okay, valleys are there, whatever is there, ridges are there. It displays each and everything, and it also displays the elevation of each and every point. Okay, the elevations are mentioned, it is in the form of contour lines. Contour lines are those lines that join all the points of equal elevation. Basically in the multiple of tens or in the multiple of fives they are being displayed. So it depends based on the terrain. If means you can say, if the terrain is flat, then the contour lines will be located very much further apart, because if 60-meter point is there, suppose this is a particular point that is at an elevation of 350 meter. So to get another point at an elevation of 360 meter, if it is a plane surface, you will get that point very much further apart. But if a certain hill is there, so 350 meter is here, and certain distance you will move towards right and you will find 360 meter, because it is continuously rising. Okay, so it depends, which it also gives us the idea, the contour line, that which type of geometry is present on the ground surface there. If contour lines are very much closely spaced, it means there either a hill is there or an excavation is there. If the elevations are rising inwards, it means hill is there. If it is decreasing inwards, it means an excavation is there. Okay, so we can also get track of this, and it also displays the horizontal distance between these 2 points. So all horizontal and vertical distances are displayed on the ground surface in the maps. Okay, as it is written also, it is generally utilized, this survey, for the preparation of contour maps.